The Gina K Designs card kit this month is packed, literally packed, with stamps, dies, and stencils. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel, and in today's video I'll be sharing this month's Gina K Designs kit, which has so many different stamp sets, dies, and stencils, all with an autumn theme. And even if you're not quite ready to think about fall, you want to grab this kit now because it's going to sell out. So let's take a look at everything inside the kit so you can get an idea of what the stamps and dies and stencils look like. This month's Gina K Designs card kit is called Autumn Delight. So let's take a look at all the happiness that is inside this box. First up, we have the Serene Branches embossing folder. This is a 3D embossing folder. I was so excited that the kit included an embossing folder. I love embossing folders. They add so much to cards as far as quickly adding interest, and I love the fact that it combines with the stencil as well. Next up, we have the Thankful and Blessed stamp set, and there are coordinating dies. So the dies cut out all those little sentiments as well as all the little images. There are some really fun ones to color in. Then we have the Autumn Delight stencils. This is a layering stencil set and the Autumn Delight die set. So it'll cut out that floral image and you can stencil it in. So these are great to use as a really focal piece on your card. This stamp set is called Harvest of Happiness, and this is one of those silhouette stamp sets. You can see that they are kind of solid images, so you'll stamp them on maybe a sky ink blended background. But there's also the masked circle stencil set. So you can stencil the circle, then you can mask it off and ink blend around it to create some really pretty backgrounds, and we'll do one of those in today's video. I just wanted to mention that along with the Autumn Delight, you can pick up separately the Autumn Delight POLY-GLAZE sheets, so you can foil and then die cut. You can foil and stencil, and you can do all three together. Now let's use this month's kit to make some cards. For this first card, we'll start with the Serene Branches 3D embossing folder. Now, I tried to use this embossing folder with the Spellbinders adapter plate, and the adapter plate was a little too thick, or the embossing folder was a little too thick to go through. So I just did it as a regular embossing sandwich in my Platinum machine. I die cut out the branch that will also go inside that embossing folder, and then I run that through my die cut machine. So now I have an A2 piece that's embossed with the entire image, and then a die cut piece that's also embossed, and that is just one branch. Next, I'll use the stencils. So I have the layering stencils. The first stencil I've chosen is number 1 in the set, and I placed it down on an A2 piece of white cardstock that I embossed already. So it really lines up easily because you just line up the wall of the stencil around the popped up image from the embossed image. And I love this emerald ink as an alternate to a traditional green. It's just such a pretty color, and I've been using it a lot lately. So next up, we'll peel off that first stencil and then place down that second stencil. And you can see that I'm working with a waffle flower grip mat in the back, and then that is on my Glassboard Studio glass mat. So I have a couple of different work surfaces here working together to help me really hold everything into place so that it doesn't slide around. And then I'm just using a blending brush to blend out this ink. It's a really nice ink that if you start with a nice soft hand, you'll get a nice soft look. And then you can always add more. I like to add more either to the tips or the outside edges of these leaves to give it a little bit of interest. There are a few berries here, so I probably should have taped off some of those leaves so that I didn't get red on any of them, or that was actually like a pink color, but I think they turned out just fine. It's all right. And next up, I'll use some Gina K. I believe this is sand. I will double check and put it in the YouTube description box below the video. And this is a nice color to go along with that light green for the branches themselves. So there's 2 stencils for the leaves, one with the berries and then one with the branches, but so very easy to line up. Next, I'll take the stencils starting from the beginning again and line up over the die cut branch because I want these leaves to be colored in as the same that I did the other leaves. Now you could do something a little different. You could have a slightly different color, or you could do a darker ink to really make them stand out. So I did add a little bit of extra ink just to have a little bit of a darker color there, but then I'll do the same color for the branch as well. And the nice thing about this is then you have a piece that is separate that you can either add in to the image, or what I decided to do was pop it up right on top of where it belongs in the image. So there is one part of the image that gets dimensional and is closer to you. I chose one of the sentiments from the Thankful and Blessed stamp set and then cut it out with the coordinating die. This way, it's really easy to add to the card. You can see I cut the panel down to 4 by 5 1/4 and placed that on some Apple Mint Gina K cardstock and then popped up that sentiment right on top. For the next card, I'll use some of the images from the Thankful and Blessed stamp set. I am inking them up with Gina K Designs Amalgam ink in black Obsidian, and that is because I want to use some alcohol markers to color them in. I didn't do anything too fancy with most of them. Some of the images are teeny tiny, like the little flowers with the leaves, but this pumpkin and the apple and the leaf itself, they give you just enough room to have a little fun with blending. So leave a little spot open until the very end and then go over it with the lightest marker to really blend it in, and you get that really nice shine mark spot on your image there. So I love doing a grid on cards. It's just such an easy design trick that really allows you to use a lot of images and have a sentiment as well nice in the center. So I did have to kind of maneuver a little bit because I think I probably should have put the longer ones at the top or bottom, but I really still love the way it turned out. And then the craft cardstock from Gina K in the background is so much fun. So the stencils have these guidelines and they make it really easy to line up on an A2 piece of white cardstock so that you get your circle right in the center, which is exactly where I wanted it. So I used those guidelines, lined it up, and now I have some Gina K ink that I'm using to kind of blend out this circle. If you can see, even though I'm going really fast, I'm starting on the stencil itself. And the reason that I do that, here you can see it there, the reason that I do that is because I don't want harsh lines on the ink blended circle. So if you start on the stencil itself, you're really just pulling in some of that ink off of the stencil, not just placing the brush down, which I've done before, and it definitely gives you this weird, like, plopped look of the brush just kind of sitting on that circle. Now I'll take the mask and I use some Spellbinders Best Ever Craft Tape to hold that mask in place on the ink blended circle. I'll admit, I was a little worried about this. I was a little worried that when I pulled it off, I was going to yank off the paper because I didn't give it a ton of time to dry. I was also worried it was going to slide around. It did not slide around. I didn't have some good Gina K inks for a dark night sky, so I am using some Distress Oxide inks here. Same technique though, blending from off the edge onto the paper itself, and then just going over this several times with the colors to try and blend out anything that does look like a line. So you don't really get the brush lines, but sometimes you'll get a line in between colors and you just kind of have to blend it out. Now I went very slowly there because I was so petrified that after all that ink blending, I was going to tear the paper. But if you go slowly and you are patient, which is something I am not usually, you can definitely get that tape off without tearing. Next, I wanted to use those silhouette stamps and I wasn't really thinking here, so I put everything in the mini Misty. This would have made a lot more sense in the original size Misty, but since I'd already placed everything, I didn't want to redo it. I was just being lazy. So I put the stencil over that piece of cardstock that I've ink blended, and then I just taped it at the top to keep it in place. And then I'll just place those stamps on the open circle and then stamp them with the Gina K Amalgam ink again to have that nice crisp black ink silhouette on top. This look is so much fun, and I always love when other people create with it, but I never feel like I'm very good at it. But the masked circle really helps to kind of contain everything, and it makes it quite a bit easier. So if you love that silhouette look and you think you're not good at it, give this one a try. I really think you will enjoy creating a card like this. It is so much fun to ink blend and then stamp as well. Since I had the Autumn Delight POLY-GLAZE sheets, I wanted to use them along with the die and stencil that came in the kit. So I have the POLY-GLAZE sheets. I'm going to cut out one of the images. They come 2 per sheet, but I just want to do one at a time and pick which foil color I'm going to use. The foil will go with the silver side facing the image side is facing up, and the pretty color of the foil will face up. All of that will go inside a carrier sheet, which is basically a clear folder. You're going to place the edge of the clear folder, the one that's glued together or adhered down or is basically one piece, you're going to put that into the fuse, and that will help it run through the fuse without getting jammed up at all. Now this looks pretty good. I never have trouble with fuse sheets, so the POLY-GLAZE fuse sheets. So I don't think I'm going to have a problem, but I do like to let it cool so that as much of the foil gets transferred as possible. I don't know if that's really a thing. That's just something that's in my head. So I did peel it off eventually, and it's a perfect transfer. If you struggle with foil, I highly recommend trying the POLY-GLAZE sheets. They are what I think is the easiest way to work with foil, just because there's not really a learning curve there. It really does just kind of transfer the foil perfectly. Okay, so I did die cut it out with the die from the card kit, and now I have that die cut and foiled flower design on my grip mat, and I'll place the stencil right on top. And I'm using some Gina K Designs inks. I'm using the light carnation and the medium carnation for the flowers. I love these 2 pink inks, just like some of the other new colors that I'm using, that emerald and such. They just blend really beautifully. They can be soft, they can be dark and opaque, and they just work really well with blending brushes and stencils and all of Gina K's beautiful designs. So here I am adding that emerald once again. I'm telling you, I am obsessed with this green. It is perfect for sort of lighter and spring, but it really is a nice touch for autumn and Christmas as well. Just a little bit of a different color, and I love using slightly different colors. Again, with the craft, I know I really love the way that white cardstock looks on Gina K's craft and using that craft as a mat. So I'll just add one of the sentiments and pop it up again. And I used foam adhesive behind the flowers as well. That foil just really shines so beautifully, and I just love the way it comes together so easily. I always say this in my Gina K Designs card kit videos. If you love this kit or love the look of it and you think you might want to create with it, even if it's not now, I think you should check it out. There's links in the YouTube description box below the video. These kits tend to sell out pretty fast. I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon.